Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. This is TJ and you're listening to Beyond the Ring podcast, and welcome to my Monday Night Raw review. This week's Raw was an average episode. Uh, didn't felt like a crowd return show. SmackDown was so good. It was really better than Raw, I would say. And gone are the times, I have said it million times that gone are the times when we used to watch 3 hours, like like very easily, but this show is not digestible, man. It's still not, and the crowd was not even very excited or something. It was excited for a first hour or something, and then it was all all down actually, because but the second hour was the one which had major things that got happened. But still, it is what it is. It's all booking. It's all the errors that WWE have done for so many months and become years. So that would reflect. So that's still reflecting, and that's gonna continue if they are not going to improve. If they are thinking like the crowd will make the show better, nah, it will not make the show better. Continue this thing for 6 months, and you will have no crowds. I know that there would be Smacks would be watching. There would be crowd for some, but you would not be selling out arenas or pay-per-views. Pay-per-views are the one you make money. So if your pay-per-views are not selling, you would not be able to kind of have good weekly shows and as well. So you need to improve. So there's a major improvement that requires for Monday Night Raw. So with that, we began with this review and kind of a few thoughts about Raw that I had. So getting into this review, we first saw the long-awaited return last night, Money in the Bank, John Cena, and it got confirmed that John Cena is gonna be on Monday Night Raw, and he was there. And right out of the bat, his music hits, and he comes out, and fans erupted again, and fans give love, and have the reaction that he wanted to listen to. And it was good. It was a Cena promo that we expect, and he resonates well with the crowd. And he says he loves the chaos. He said somewhere chanting for him and somewhere against him, and but they were loud and they were all present, just kind of feeding the crowd kind of thing. And then he turned down to the real situation for why he's here. So because there was so many questions that he actually had that in that promo before he announced that he's going to be on Monday Night Raw. You're going to be wondering that I'm for what, I'm for when, for how, I have come for what. So that's for the question. So it's pretty much clear. He says that he's for Roman Reigns, and he's an asshole, he says, and he doesn't like what he does. So he wants to show him what he deserves and what his position is. So that's a kind of a simple promo that John Cena have. A nice promo, I would say. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying underestimating or something. It was a really good opening. Very exciting stuff that the show began with. And show had a good mood going around in the start. And that was this segment. And he also said that he would be on SmackDown this Friday, and he can't wait to see Reigns there, he says. And he also said now that he got that off the chest, it was time to get down to business. So I thought about that, maybe an open challenge or something. Is he doing that? Kind of he's a character like I want to show you guys like I can wrestle or something, maybe a jobber or something coming up. It was not. It was Riddle who made his entrance, and a kind of a good grab by John Cena there from Riddle. So kind of a good association there. They both are kind of a character who caters the kids. Yeah, John Cena some merchandise and all goes to most of the kids, and they purchase that. And same is with Riddle. His character and all is so cringe, and is so comedic character. He's so kiddie character. So it makes made sense actually. And Cena and Riddle said bro back and forth several times on the mic, and then said it together before shaking hands. They hugged each other, and it was done. Cena left the ring while Riddle remained in the ring because there was a six-man tag team match that was opening the action front and the wrestling front of things. And John Cena's the promo and all the things was good. It was not the best promo or something, because it's very interesting to see SmackDown actually, they actually having face off. It's not the face Roman Reigns that actually was just blabbering around, doesn't know what to say or something. That's not the he has attitude, and he only speaks when he wants to. So that kind of attitude, how would be the promos and all, how would be mocking John Cena, how would be mocking him, Roman Reigns. That's very interesting to see. So the SmackDown is a good SmackDown is a good store for good things actually. So this was a good thing that opened with, and we get to the match actually. The first match was Riddle and the Viking Raiders facing off against AJ Styles, Omos, and John Morrison, with Miz on the wheelchair as usual. So this was a really fun match, I would say. Crowd had a lot of good reaction to this match, and I would say all of them are favorites in this match. Riddle is favorite. Viking Raiders is loved as well, because we have seen in Money in the Bank matches, fans really were into Viking Raiders character and Viking Raiders matches, and they have that speed kind of that agility kind of element as well into their wrestling. So it's very good to see. And AJ Styles is one of the best pioneer, and Omos is a big guy of AJ Styles, and John Morrison. He's also very good to watch. He's athletic, agile, and so it was a total all around a fun match. I would say fun tag team match, a fun six-man tag, a solid television match. I would say solid TV match, and Viking Raiders and Riddle actually got the victory on AJ Styles almost when Morrison came out to defend Miz, and almost threw Morrison into the ring where he was hit with a Viking experience. As this was happened actually, Riddle actually used the dripstick of Miz onto Omos, and almost felt like Miz actually was the one who used, and he was saying that it was not me. And John Morrison tries to explain almost, but John Morrison was tossed into the ring, and Viking Experience was hit by Viking Raiders, and that was it for him. Even AJ Styles also controlled almost, because kind of because it's a match, he wants to win. So this match was lost by AJ Styles, Omos, and John Morrison because of Omos thing. So uh, I mean, yeah, that it doesn't felt like kind of what I was expecting, like a dissension angle for something. It just has almost really not. If they want to do in the future, they should do other way around, like losing because of AJ Styles and almost getting angry. That's the scenario that I am feeling like in the future would be happening. So that's very Randy Orton, man. I mean, he's completely gone. The fans came back. I mean, there was a rumor that when fans come back, it would be there, but fans are there. I mean, first Monday Night Raw, he should be have been there. I would say that, and he was not there. So I hope so. We'll see next week. So backstage, we have a close-up shot ahead of Jackson Riker. So this thing is not over, man. We get to the bad stuff again, and Jackson Riker and Elias face off in a symphony of destruction match. So nothing like there were music systems and pianos and keyboards and drumsticks and all were onto the ringside. So that was there. So you have to use them onto your opponent and just get the victory, kind of a no DQ situation. So that was a match. This match, the crowd. I mean, I didn't also take this match as a very good match or something. It was just there, I would say. It was nothing fun. The story was already over. They had the strap match, because I felt like they did this Jackson Riker Elias match just to see how they are going with the reaction on Elias and Jackson Riker. I mean, I felt like they are having these three matches, like we had saw Sheamus and Career match as well. So kind of a same repetitive stuff that actually bugged me, really bugged me, because this is a new beginning. Crowds are back. You should do new matches, man. You're just doing the rematch things. That's already watched 100 times. So it was just there. I don't even want to make what all happened in this match. So in the ending of the match was like Riker actually superplexed Elias through a pair of tables that was set around in the front of an arms table, and he scored the victory. So hopefully, man, end this thing. And I mean, I don't know why what they are doing and why the hell they actually broke up this tag team. I don't know. Just to have that Elias segment, I am Elias kind of segment. I don't know, but still, it is what it is. And we got to the backstage segment where Adam Pearce and Sonia Deville were talking with Mansoor when Mustafa Ali showed up, and they actually informs them that next week you would be having a tag team situation matchup on Raw next week. And Ali said he didn't ask for that, and Mansoor said, I know what you're doing. You are trying to explain me what all you should be keep in mind when you're in the ring. So what's better if you team up with me and you have. So Ali then eventually agreed to team with Mansoor once and said he better not screw it up. So that was the promo, and we right away saw Sheamus showed up, and he was asking about he was asking about uh, he was asking about the US title thing and something, and Pierce Devil told Sheamus they were granting Humberto Carrillo an actual championship match after Sheamus attacked him before their last match. So this is not the way. Pierce says this is not the way you should be proud of. You actually won this match, and Sheamus told them not to be surprised if Mansoor needs a mask of his own once he's finished with him. He says, and that was. I mean, it was not. It was not Mansoor, sorry, it was Humberto Carrillo, yeah. So this was our first, and we got a hype up by Jimmy Smith, the commentator, that Charlotte segment is coming up next, Charlotte's coronation, and this was hyped up on first hour really well. This and Bobby Lashley's open challenge was the one which was being hyped up, and Charlotte Flair eventually made her entrance while footage aired of her win over Rhea Ripley for the Raw Women's Championship, and she came out a very she got a lot of boos, but it's not like what it was before, and the fans are really wanted to, because there's no one there, because like a legit kind of who feels like a championship material. I mean, if Rhea Ripley would have been a baby face, she wouldn't haven't not faced these things and all, losing the title and all. I have not felt like she would be losing at Money in the Bank, but it is what happened, and she should really turn face. And but I don't know what they have done to her while her debut. So our two, we get to Flair's promo, and Flair give a good promo, I would say, and we want Becky chants was looming was looming over the crowd, and they were saying just that. They were not allowing Flair to speak up, and Flair said Lynch is home breastfeeding while she dominates the entire women's division. So I thought about that, maybe after the end of the promo, maybe Becky Lynch would be kind of had a face off with Charlotte Flair, but it wasn't. And she noted that she's the only 11-time women's champion in the history of WWE. And Flair said Ripley had her opportunity and failed, and she said she could beat Ripley any night of the week. So she made the mistake again. Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville comes up. Before that, Rhea Ripley actually comes up, and Rhea Chant broke up a small kind of, and Flair said Ripley has fans, and Ripley said that if Flair thinks she could beat her any night of the week, that's what she said, and then she should face her again on this show. So that made Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville coming out, and Deville congratulated first Flair for becoming the 11th-time champion, and they finally says that if you are ready to face Rhea anytime, anywhere, why don't you face off each other tonight for a Raw Women's Championship rematch? So another rematch, man. I mean, we have seen this match. It's not like if you have a great match, a very good match, you are doing it again. I was not into this idea very well, but. It's not very perfect every time, like if you do the second match, because there were matches that weren't very good or something between Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley, but this surprisingly, the Money in the Bank was really good, and Charlotte's character was very good. So that was the main event, and they were hyping it like anything, like hell. They were hyping this matchup like it's a new match or new kind of thing. but still it is what it is, and we are seeing a rematch of Raw Women's Championship. And that was it. And fans are fans. I mean, I am fans, and I myself is I kind of wanted to be done with this storyline. This is kind of from WrestleMania, and they are just not doing any change in the character. They're just dragging upon. I hope, I am very hoping that this is not going to happen again at SummerSlam. I hope someone returns, maybe eventually next week, Becky Lynch. Because I have strong thought about that. So this was that, and video packaged recapped Nikki Ash winning the Nikki almost the superhero winning the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Alexa Bliss checked in from the playground set and said she had a special guest and would see everyone soon. So Alexa Bliss playground segment was coming, and Natalia and Tamina is the next match where women's tag team champions were kind of having a non-title match against Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. I mean, at this time, I was so remembering the Thunderdome era, because this rematches was like every week. It just felt like the Thunderdome show. Like they're doing the same matches. I'm very fed up with this match more than the Rhea Ripley Charlotte Flair match. Back then, Asuka Charlotte Flair was the thing, and this is the match like over and over and over. The whole women's tag team situation is just there. I mean, yeah, they aren't really doing anything. And now where is Tegan Knox and this what's her name? So they are from SmackDown actually, but still they are tag team champions, so they can go on to two brands. I don't know, maybe any travel issues or something. I don't know, maybe they are showing up on NXT, that's why. Don't know. So but still, if you have given an angle or something, you should give an update or something. They didn't really show anything or something, so there are still errors that is present. And I mean, putting the crowd back would not be a situation where Raw can succeed. At least I would say SmackDown is at least doing good. I would say in that department, the storyline and keeping the show interesting. Something they are doing that's interesting, and there's nothing interesting that's so much interesting in Raw if you look upon. Uh, yeah, so it's all things are normal. And the second hour week second hour's match, that women's tag champions, this was just a normal match where the talking point was, as regional was a distraction here again, and that caused Shayna Baszler to lose the match. Baszler kicked Natalia and turned into a super kick by Tamina, who covered for the pin. So Natalia pulled Reginald off the apron, so that kind of created a distraction. So she again blabbers around, because Reginald is the one who is the reason because of that. And Nia Jax just listens to her, and she finally listens, and she headbutts Reginald, and he's shocked, and he doesn't sold it well actually. So Reginald didn't sold it well, that headbutt, and he's like shocked. And finally, Reginald is out from this thing. And after that, we saw a fun thing where the whole jobbers were running around onto the ring, where they for the 24/7 championship situation. And Reginald picks have a roll up on Akira Tozawa, kind of planting him down on the face and having the pin. And I mean, Reginald is a new 24/7 champion, so he's abandoned, but he have something he has not have been before. So he's is something he has got. So that was fun. So that was a good piece of story that was there. I mean, not a great or something, but just as comedic kind of storytelling that was there. And the fans were chanting, "Reginald sucks, Reginald sucks, bad man, bad Reginald," and this was that. And Sheamus match was next, and Sheamus made his entrance for his US title match. And we had an advertisement after that for Raquel Gonzalez and Xia Li for the NXT Women's Championship this week's at NXT. And we got NXT champion Karen Cross hype up. I didn't know about that. Actually, I don't see what all cards are set up for Raw. Sometimes it's like there's nothing, so I don't see. So NXT champion Karen Cross is making his debut during this. I mean, what? And that was there. And we get to the US championship, championship contenders match. So they are saying non-title match as a championship contenders match. It's a new name, uh, just a WWE style name. They have to change it when some new things happens. So again a rematch, and we have been expecting what is happening with US champion, man. It's so its value is so low, man, right now. And I was very happy when Sheamus won the championship, but his booking is very pathetic, man. It's pathetic and very awful booking. He's not getting any good challengers. It was Mansoor, or yeah, Mansoor, I think, first, but then it got to Humberto Carrillo. But still, they are kind of having a situation like a jobber versus a real dominating champion kind of situation. What's happening with Sheamus? I don't know, man. He was better with non-champion. He was better with no champions, actually. He was better in tag team, actually. He was so good at that. I mean, they can book this guy so well. He's so good. I mean, it's not a very good promo cutter, but I would say that his giving the crowds a heel kind of a reaction is the best for that. And it was just there. Sheamus caught Carrillo with a shot when he was diving through the ropes, and Sheamus power bombed Carrillo and hit that broke kick with the mask, and then hit him with the broke kick and scored the victory. So just there, nothing to say about this match. Just a match. Damian Priest was shown watching. Humberto Carrillo has already lost so much many times. Damian Priest would have been a challenger. That would have been a good booking up. A booking where it justifies things. So that yeah, it justifies things. Damian Priest had his eyes set on Sheamus last week as well, before as well. So that scenario could have been played out, and that it would have been way good than this Humberto Carrillo situation. I hope that they do this next week. Now what they are saving for, I don't know, because the crowds is already back. All the things are set. Don't know, man. First it was Thunderdome, that's why they are not doing this. But now it's totally different. And highlights were ahead of Bobby Lashley destroying Kofi Kingston at Money in the Bank, and WWE Champion Bobby Lashley and MVP made their entrance for the Open Challenge. And coming out of the break, Lashley said he did all the talking he needed to the Money in the Bank, and when he destroyed Kofi Kingston, and that's what he said. And MVP took the mic, a strong promo by Bobby Lashley. He's not playing around. MVP took the mic and told the crowd how lucky they were to be witnessing the almighty WWE Champion, and MVP fired up the crowd. So there's no dissension angle that's being between Bobby Lashley and MVP. And MVP fired up the crowd by asking if it was a home of the Cowboys, and he said he understood why they reacted this way, because since decades you have not seen a winners. So a kind of analogy for the NFL football thing. So good analogy by MVP. And MVP considered that Kofi Kingston was right in saying that Lashley lost his edge. So MVP then apologized and said that Kingston didn't realize that he lit an inferno in the heart of the champion. And MVP said no one will take the championship from Lashley. And MVP said no more women, no more fun and games, no more bull. And that was not uncensored, actually, and as was uncensored by John Cena. I don't know what WWE is thinking. And I don't have any problem with two words, actually. And Lashley took the mic and asked who would accept his open challenge. Finally, lots of blabbering around by both MVP and Lashley. And I expected Bobby Lashley, but no, it was Keith Lee. I mean, Keith Lee's entrance music. Keith Lee had a good reaction, I would say, not a very great ovation or something. He got a good reaction. He got cheering. He didn't got a boo or something, and people love him. And the surprising thing was this match was kind of a sloppy match. The match we haven't seen, like Keith Lee's performance was kind of a very not very interesting performance that Keith Lee actually had this in this. So this was a this was a kind of a championship contenders match. If we, maybe Keith Lee pinning Bobby Lashley would be next in line for the championship, but the next scenario, the other scenario was going to be played out. That's why they have Keith Lee the losing. He lost to Bobby Lashley in a very dominating fashion, I would say. Lee didn't got so many offense or something, and even though that's not unbelievable to even though it's not believable to see Keith Lee getting this kind of, I mean, treatment, because they looks very even, and that's not believable. So it is what it is. Keith Lee's performance wasn't that good, and Bobby Lashley winning on Keith Lee wasn't that a way that they should have built. It should have been Keith Lee, man. Keith Lee should have. I mean, not. I'm not saying to have lock up this match for SummerSlam. You can do with a Lesnar. You can have 1 week builder for Lesnar as well. You can have Goldberg as well. So it's not that I'm saying, because it could have like Goldberg debuting, and next week you're gonna have Bobby Lashley versus Keith Lee for the championship match, and Goldberg having some interesting to some type of, and he finally returns, Bobby Lashley retains, and Goldberg coming up and spearing Bobby Lashley. That's kind of a thing that they should have done, and this is plan that I am telling. It's so simple that WWE should have done that, and they didn't do that. And Keith Lee, in his return, long awaited return, fans were very expecting, giving him praises and love to get him recovered because of health problems. He was not there. So Lee went for a spirit bomb, but Lashley escaped and performed a flatliner. And in the end, we saw Lee awarded the finisher. Lashley performed a dominator and then speared Lee and covered him for the clean victory. So I mean, bad man. He just buried Keith Lee's momentum altogether. I mean, I don't know why, how he's gonna be booking. Maybe I think so. He's gonna be booked for the U.S. title, U.S. Championship. That would be a good scenario as well. Maybe if they could book in a good way, that's what I'm hoping. A good thing for Keith Lee. So I'm not a very big Keith Lee fan, but I still think that he could be a very good main roster guy, and he looks like that. So I thought about that. So a very disappointing match, a very bad booking. So the second hour was lots of questionable bad bookings, lots of debuts with unnecessary. I mean, lots of debuts with no explanation or something. Just a flurry of returns or debuts, you can say, because then we had. Then we had waiting Karrion Cross as well. So that debut as well wasn't that good. I would speak about that. And backstage, Kevin Patrick asked Lashley if he had a comment regarding Goldberg's apparent challenge, and we said that Goldberg disrespected Lashley, and they won't even dignify it with a response. And Jinder Mahal segment was next, and Jinder Mahal, Veer, and Shanky were in the ring, and Mahal told the crowd that it's his birthday, and Shanky sings the birthday song, but Drew McIntyre comes up, and Drew McIntyre just demolishes with chair shots. It was some kind of 40 chair shots on Shanky. I felt really bad for Shanky because he he was I mean, that was very bad when they actually when Drew McIntyre comes up and attacked Drew McIntyre with a chair shot. Drew McIntyre comes up and attacked Jinder Mahal with a chair shot, and Veer and Shanky just look upon and they just say, that's not the way the heel should do. The heel should be going up against them and kind of hitting them, and then that's kind of the thing. They didn't do that, and they Drew McIntyre asked them kind of like, why aren't you doing anything? And that's kind of what I felt. And finally Drew McIntyre hits a chair, and Veer actually escaped. Jinder Mahal, Veer is watching Shanky getting decimated by the chair shots by Drew McIntyre. So a lot of chair shots, man. So that was a moment to see, which was bad to see actually. And next we got a Karrion Cross vignette aired, and then he was shown standing on the stage without Scarlett. So the entrance was not very disappointing, I would say, because but it was not very great like NXT kind of thing. And it's very apparent that he's not going to get a very warm kind of treatment, because NXT guys debuts kind of in a normal way, and Scarlett's missing was major here. And when he did that beats on his chest, and when Scarlett actually uh, stands up. So that's a kind of a presentation that Karrion Cross and those have a very great chemistry, and that I really missed. So hopefully if they can bring both of them, that would be good, man. And Graves said the time has arrived for the WWE universe to fall and pray, and Cross entered the ring, and Graphic listed him as facing Jeff Hardy after the break. So fans were expecting Jeff Hardy's no more words music theme song, and that was the thing. Jeff Hardy came out with the old theme music, and fans got excited. And fans loved it. But the decision that they did in this match was a. I mean, it was very short. It was just there, I would say, and it wasn't very interesting. Cross was setting up for an elbow shot, but Hardy avoided it. Cross actually stood over Hardy in the corner, but Hardy powerbombed him from the second rope and put his feet on the ropes for leverage while pinning Cross. When did Jeff Hardy got heel, man? He was the face, and the faces don't do this kind of stuff. I don't know if he done this with the mistake or something, but it was bad. It was bad for the psychology character as well. It was bad for Karrion Cross as well. Man, he's not the former champion. He's the current NXT champion. I mean, why did they debut him? I don't know at the first point, because if they are going to have some program, I don't know why they did. Because he's the current NXT champion. It's not like lost the NXT champion and then he's coming to the main roster. No, he's the current NXT champion. Why the hell they actually debuted him? Just gave him a loss. Then it just degrades your own champion, NXT champion, and that was bad, man. That was bad, because Jeff Hardy, I do respect Jeff Hardy. They also show the history of Jeff Hardy's 2008 victory, triple threat victory on WWE first ever WWE championship. But for some weeks, some years as well, Jeff Hardy is not kind of a star that he was. He's just built like a lower mid card wrestler, and he loses way too much than his than he what he's than he deserves actually. And losing a kind of a jobber kind of status superstar coming up, because they have made it Jeff Hardy like that. And getting the victory on Karen Cross, NXT champion, and by a leverage on the ropes. That's a very, very bad booking that was there. That leverage kind of ropes, I don't know if that was a mistake or that was a booking that was intentional, but still it was bad. And after the match, we saw Kevin Patrick enter the ring and asked for Cross reaction to losing his Raw debut match to Hardy. And Cross said Hardy just made the biggest mistake of his life. And Cross said, in the end, everyone will fall and pray. So is he gonna continue the storyline with Hardy then? Kind of revenge for his loss? I don't want to see, man. I'm not interested in that. Let him be in that NXT thing. I think they just tried him out because they want to see how the crowd is reacting for Karrion Cross. So I don't know. It's a main roster thing, you guys. You cannot try things and all. It's not the era where you can where you cannot understand things. It's an era where you can find all the things on internet. So it's pretty much clear they were just testing him, kind of thing. So that was there. And Alexa Bliss playground segment was next. Eva Marie and Doudrop concept. So same thing. Eva Marie is not liking Alexa Bliss presentation and all. And Doudrop and even Alexa Bliss are friends, and so kind of a normal stuff that they had, maybe kind of a going into the singles match with Eva Marie or something. That's what I am thinking about. And in the end, we saw Bliss call for putting Drew Doudrop on timeouts to see if Eva could get by without her help. So Eva decided to leave and tripped her when she tried to walk away. And Bliss laughed after Eva and Drew Doudrop were out of the picture. So kind of they are hinting towards Bliss versus Eva Marie. Not interested, man. Not interested. Make when are you gonna have the Fiends return? I don't know, man. Fiends should return, and yeah, something interesting should happen with and Randy as well. So there's a major situation where the stars are not there, and the booking decisions is not also very bad. It is not going to be good by making stars coming up. You should have the booking as well good. So next week we are going to see AJ Styles and Omos as the Viking Raiders for the Raw tag titles. That's getting defended next week. And that was the match. And we get to the seventh match, Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley for the Raw Women's Championship. And the one thing I actually missed, which was major, was the Goldberg return. Actually, Bobby Lashley had his match with Bobby Lashley had his match. So I actually had spoke about this, but I literally missed about that. And Bobby Lashley versus Keith Lee, after the Keith Lee thing, the Goldberg's music hits and fans erupted. Fans were really received him well, not at the level of John Cena or Edge, but because he was way past from their age. And I don't have any problem with Goldberg like hating him. I don't think so. The thing is that if they are going with this thing, Goldberg versus Lashley, get Lashley the victory, get Lashley retain the championship. If they're going with this thing, if they, I don't know how the build up would be. Kind of, they have 4 to 5 weeks right now, so Goldberg would not be like every week, coming every week. He wasn't. He haven't done like that kind of thing. So let's see how it would be. Not very excited or something. Goldberg versus Lashley, because I'm more excited for Lesnar versus Lashley. So if you have the big money match of Cena versus Roman Reigns with a lot of story, then this is kind of a throwaway match. That's a big money match, I would say, just to make money kind of match. So not very interested. So it is what it is. And Goldberg says, I'm next. So Bobby Lashley is pissed off, and that was there. I actually missed upon that. So one of the there's a return. Even with these returns, show didn't got any interesting or something. But this, because it didn't really got any implications forward as well. So that's why the main event we got was Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley for the Raw Women's Championship. This was a decent match, I would say, or sometimes average as well. Not at the level what they had in the Money in the Bank. Such a great match they had. And but the Charlotte Flair's knee work was good after the match, where Ripley crawled under the ropes, sold knee pain while the referee held back Flair. And the ending of the match, we saw Ripley perform a riptide finisher for a near fall. Flair rolled out to ringside, grabbed her title. She was fleeing, trying to. Ripley ran after Flair, who hit her with the title belt. And her DQ situation again. I mean, main event, you're getting the DQ in front of a crowd, first ever crowd of Raw. I mean, it was bad, man. They didn't, and but they have that bad smell got. That bad smell actually have got turned into a very sweet taste, I would say, because they have another thing where Flair held up the title. They are brawling around. Ripley attacked Flair and performed a red type finisher at ringside. Just at that time, Nikki Ash music hits. I was very kind of hoping even Becky Lynch, even or Becky's return or Nikki Ash kind of coming out and kind of teasing. And that's always that the Money in the Bank winners too, after the Money in the Bank. So that I thought about, but I didn't expected that she's gonna cash in. And when she was cashing, I thought about it's gonna be a failed cash in or something. That would be a way wrong thing that WWE should do. But it was not like that. Nikki Ash comes up and so Riptide already had Ripley also already had that Riptide finisher at ringside before rolling her back inside the ring. Nikki Ash ran out with the Money in the Bank briefcase, handed it on to the referee, and Mike Room announces it's Nikki Ash cash in, and Nikki Ash goes to the top rope. Charlotte Flair's in the ring, and she picks her up. She stands up, and Nikki Ash from the top rope. Nikki Ash from the top rope, a splash and a crossbody, and that got the victory. I mean, it's a wrestling, man. It's wrestling. You should believe in these things. I know that, but still, it was not a very believable kind, because Charlotte Flair is one of the greatest champion, and you are losing just with a. I mean, it wasn't kind of a believable, like with a crossbody. They could have done that. Nikki Ash getting the finisher victory or something. That could have been good. That could have been a thing, because all the distraction, all the pain, and something because the match is over. So that could have been with a crossbody. It's very sometimes not believable, but it's wrestling, guys. You should believe that. And I was very happy for Nikki Ash winning. So they did this. Did this, which was really unexpected, and they really got the crowd happy because they saw a cash in. So Nikki Ash is the new Raw Women's Championship. So that's a new scenario. So that would be a new opening, like Nikki Ash versus Charlotte Flair, or maybe Rhea Ripley as well. So that's maybe I expect that Charlotte Flair with Nikki Ash could be the thing that's going forward. That is why thinking. So they ended the show well, very well, and they began the show very good. So that was the only thing. And between all that thing, it was just average, and it wasn't that good. So this show was Raw show was average, man. The booking, questionable booking decisions still rooms around. The rematches, repetitive things still continues on. They are really hard getting the tag teams and not having tag teams. And for the US Championship is dead, and the WWE Championship is also. I mean, Goldberg is there, so he's come up. They have John Cena in one show actually. So what they're gonna do next week, actually, I don't know. Just making debuts from NXT is not gonna work, man. You should have some kind of interesting storyline. Importance, you should give importance to them, and you're just throwing away with good matches. That's good for 1 week. What after that? That's not gonna uh, patch up the wound that you have created months and ago. So that's what my thought, man. Lot of time that have given to this review. I hope you like this review. Please make sure to like this review and share it with your friends, and tell me your thoughts on this week's first ever crowd return show off from Monday Night Raw. And I hope to see you guys in the next one. Until then, be safe, stay energetic, and peace.